Said, well, I just didn't know what I was going to talk about. Roger, you can only come in for a sec. Let's shut the door. My Roger, yeah. So we were talking about memories of when the whole family would get together and what that was like.
Have you got it going?
Yep.
Okay. Well, no, actually what I was thinking about was my first memories of our connection. And I just told you, I just told Pam sometime in the last couple of years that I remember Al and Onita and Pam coming to Kiefer, to our little house there in Kiefer, Oklahoma. And I was probably 4 and you 5. And they brought Chinese umbrellas. They're about, as I remember, I know you didn't, it didn't impress you, but it impressed me. And they were paper, and they were bamboo, you know, probably stems, and they were so pretty, and we opened them and twirled them. And
but my parents brought them.
You all brought them as, yes.
No, I don't have any.
And we messed around and played with them, and it was fun.
The only thing I remember about the house at Keeper is the front porch.
Yes.
I have very little memory.
The front,
I have vivid memories of Wellston, but no.
Yes, the fence and the gate, I remember at Kiefer. But they came to our house in Wellston, of course.
And of course, one of my favorite things when I came to your house was the next door neighbors who had the cats that almost always had a new litter of kittens.
Yes, yes.
And we would dress those poor kittens in every kind of costume there was and push them around in baby buggies.
Yes, we had fun. And one of my favorite memories of our friendship early, we were pre-adolescent maybe, was at your house in Wichita when we bought the Barbie doll.
Oh yes.
My gosh, we bought a Barbie doll and just one.
Yeah, it wasn't a real Barbie doll. It was before Barbie dolls, but it was a little, yes.
Similar to that.
Yeah.
And we dressed her and we said that you would have for a while and then I would have
train her. But somehow I ended up with her and lost her.
She went home with you.
Janie never really forgave me. She kept asking about that doll.
But but back about just general family gatherings, or
I want to tell one more thing about childhood. But Janie was always so socially ahead of me.
Even though she was a year younger?
Yeah, even though she was a year younger. And so she had boyfriends and stuff, and I'd never had a boyfriend. And she'd been kissed, and I'd never been kissed. And so we had a summer at Wellston, and I was there with her. My parents weren't there, but I was there visiting you. Do you remember this, playing,
yes,
what was that, Spin the Bottle or something we played? But we did it out in the yard, and the object was spun the bottle, or somehow we chose people and paired off, and then we had to walk around
the house,
make a circle around the house in the dark. And the idea was that the girl would get kissed.
You stopped along the way.
Stopped along the way. And so there was one boy there that was sort of a heartthrob for me. Was his name Quentin, perhaps?
Yes, probably.
And I did get to walk around the house with him, and when I came back, everybody teases, but I didn't get the kiss. I was so disappointed.
The game didn't work.
I didn't get the kiss. But I couldn't tell anybody, of course.
Of course not. Of course not. Hold up the sign. We also had a lot of fun. We went up to Aunt Lita's house in Miami.
Yeah.
One of those summers.
Yeah, I got to go a couple of times, yeah.
And spend time.
Just the two of you with her? Or?
One time the two of us, and one time Kathy was there also. And she had arranged things for us to do fun.
That's right, I remember that. Yeah.
To ride horses and to just have fun.
Yeah.
Meet other girls our age and that live next door. And
yeah, she always, being a teacher, and she was the sponsor for the
Latin
prom,
for the prom
every year. So she had all these books about ordering things for proms to decorate, and of course we were kind of into that because we were coming on an age where we were going to be participating. And she would get those things out and lay them on the floor.
Let us look at all of those, yeah.
Well, talk some more about Lita.
Oh,
Nobody's really talked about Lita much
Oh,
yet.
Lita was so fabulous. And she was the older sister. They had a child after Lita who died of typhoid fever, I believe it was. And so there was a gap between those two. But Lita was the big sister. and was always the flamboyant one.
Yes.
And Julia Bess, I think Julia Bess, her mom, lived through her some.
Do you?
By and maybe my mom Lila also, because my mom was modest and hardworking and obedient, and all of that was the role she played in the family and then in life. And Lita, of course, was a fabulous teacher, excellent teacher, but she always had a flair about whatever she did.
Yes.
And
she was unique.
Unique.
Yeah, definitely.
She.
Chris is gonna come in.
Hi, Chris. Come on in.
We're talking about Aunt Lita.
Aunt
right?
Lita B. Lita Blanche. So she was named after her two aunts, Lita Slagle and Blanche Hardy. So the sisters of each of our grandparents. Lita Blanche, firstborn. And what else about her?
She was interested in so many things that were not part of our lives, like travel, things that we hadn't experienced yet. So she always seemed so exotic to us, or she did to me.
Yes.
And worldly.
Yes.
And she was fun.
Knew about a lot, read. And always she subscribed to the New Yorker. That was in itself.
Yeah.
And so we'd go to her house, and there'd be the New Yorker, and she had read the articles. And we mainly, at least I mainly looked at the cartoons. But
and most of those were too sophisticated for me to get.
But that was, to look at a magazine that showed what was on at Broadway.
Yeah. Yeah, things like that.
And it wasn't like she ran back and forth to New York at all, but just that she wanted to know and read somebody else's thoughts and ideas. She took the Atlantic, my mother subscribed to Atlantic Monthly and Harper's also, so that influenced me. And I don't take those, but the idea of reading essays and
yeah, no, it was unique. True.
thinking.
Right.
Now, Mother told of Lita being a flapper because she was born, I believe, wasn't it 1906? So she was of the age that she could be a flapper in the 20s. And one of the big stories that struck me was that grandmother invested in a boa, a feather boa for Lita.
Oh my.
Fancy.
Oh, no, I had heard that story.
Yeah.
Well, one quick story about her that I remember, and I wasn't there at this event, but my mother was very conservative. And we had Thanksgiving at Lita's. You may have been there. And Lita served dinner, went in, changed clothes to serve dinner, and came out, and she had on a red bodysuit. A red bodysuit.
I don't remember that, but
Yeah,
I'm not
and
surprised.
my mother was totally shocked because Lita had what? She had to be at that point 65 or maybe 70.
Oh, funny, funny.
You know, at least 65. And she came out in this total red fitted bodysuit. Yeah, that's what my mother said.
Now, Lita would write me a note and say, what did you get for your birthday? Did you get a bikini? Of course, me, I was thinking my body was not fit for bikinis, and my father, while he was alive, certainly would not have approved.
No,
But just to talk about that, she had a caftan. Do you remember what a caftan is?
yeah.
That big flowing.
Yes, I know.
I remember her, that was quite exotic looking, and she brought interesting things back from her travels.
One thing that I thought was unique about her was she traveled so much that she never took a single picture. And I remember quizzing her about it because we talked about travel a lot over the years. And she said, well, I spend my time looking with my eyes and seeing and don't have to look through a lens to see it. And she said, then I remember it when I get home.
Wow.
So, yeah.
She came to, with one of her trips with that group that she often traveled with. It was in England, and so she came when we were living, when Dick and Chris and Joy and I were living in England. We were in Marlow at that time. And I went in to pick her up, to bring her out for an afternoon or something like that. And she was so impressed that I drove in London. She said, and though she was, worldly in some way, she said, we come into these cities, we are dropped off at the hotel, we are picked up, we are taken, and we got on subway system, and I had to guide her, she didn't.
Oh, yeah.
She didn't do that.
Right.
Whereas, let's shift over to, just briefly, to my mother, and I went to France for that summer 1963.
Yeah, I think it would have been. Yeah.
And gosh, we walked everywhere and took every subway, and she was so adventuresome and ready to explore and eat different things. And in fact, our breakthrough from our temperate background had wine.
Oh, you did that?
We did.
She had a glass of wine?
Together.
Oh my goodness.
You know, that was all, of course. Oh, you talk about family gatherings and things that were, I mean, alcoholic. We were all gathered at Cherie's house. I don't know if you were there, but it was a Thanksgiving meal at, I'm trying to think, no, it was at the duplex. It was after they'd moved to the duplex. And we were ready to, you know, the meal was ready. And she got out a bottle of scotch and served it neat to everybody. Had her little ruby things and poured. I must have been, you know, 18 or 19 or something. And here was Roger and I know Roger and I looked at it, sipping
a little scotch.
Straight scotch without a
Did your mother sip some?
I suppose all of us did. I suppose. I don't know.
But we all loved that about her. She broke the mold.
She did.
Yeah.
Your dad loved that? What did your dad think about Lita?
Oh, he adored her.
Yeah.
And he was so much younger that he remembers her boyfriends.
Yes.
And how she had one boyfriend who really courted her. I'm not sure it's the way she married, but he did all kinds of wonderful things for Dad. Mm-hmm. Bought him things and took him places.
And they got to
courted
occasionally ride in the car. And occasionally the little kids got to go in the car of the...
Right, and I remember Dad saying that this guy also courted their mother too. I mean, Cherie.
Oh.
He was really after Lita, so he was really doing the whole family thing.
Okay.
But he had those memories of her. But she was so much older that she really wasn't a part of his regular life.
Yes.
Oh, but I do have one story that I have to tell that he loved to tell about the sisters. I don't think it was Lila. I think it was I know it was he and Deanie. The 311 North Roberts had the old freestanding bathtub in the bathroom.
Yes.
And he and Deanie, their favorite thing, according to Dad, was to fill that tub with water and get in to take the bath. But they wet the edges of the bed, and they would then scoot round and round, and I think it was probably your mother that came in and scolded them.
She was as a surrogate of mom, of her mother, probably.
For making a mess and probably making too much noise. Dad remembered that with great glee, how much fun they had doing that.
Yes. We might recall that they then left 311, locked it up and left it behind and went to Odessa in their later years so that Rab could work that warehouse job.
I remember that.
And lived in that little apartment upstairs at the tool supply
yard. All those pipes.
Yard.
Yard.
And so we kept care of, sort of, the house, kept an eye on the house a little bit from Wellston. And then they came back and they redid the house substantially.
I didn't remember that.
Took down the walls and put in new sheetrock and painted to improve it, and expanded that kitchen from that tiny little kitchen to a pretty nice sized kitchen, and then lived the rest of their lives. And of course, Rab died during that time while they were still in that house.
Right.
And I was there. Rab was in the hospital in Oklahoma City, and I believe it was Lita B. Mother and I were there, and Lita B. I think was at the hospital with him, and the phone rang in the night. And Cherie answered the phone in from bed and hung it up, and she says, "Daddy has died." And that echoes in my memory.
Right.
That voice coming to the other bedroom, and
gee.
he had emphysema.
Yeah, I remember him looking so frail.
From all the years of his smoking.
Right, yeah. Well, what I remember about that place in Texas was
in Odessa.
In Odessa, that tool yard was full of pipes, I guess for oil drilling.
Yes.
All kinds of different sizes, and there were
stacks
and stacks of them, and hundreds of jackrabbits. And so Grandrab used to encourage me to go out there and try to catch one of those jackrabbits. Of course, it's dirty and dusty and hot. It was, really pretty awful place. But that was my entertainment there, was to chase those jackrabbits.
Yeah, now see, I don't remember it being an awful place, though.
Oh, no, I don't know.
I mean,
I love
looking
going
at
there.
it from now,
Yeah. But,
they had a little apartment above the...
with a tin roof.
Yes. Yes.
In that Texas heat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Out in the middle of, outside of the city of Odessa.
Yeah.
And across from the railroad line. You remember us?
No, I don't remember
Oh,
that.
gosh, I'd sit on those steps when the sun was going down, so the steps were in the shade, and the trains would go by.
Oh.
You know, you look for entertainment when you're out with the family, besides chasing jackrabbits.
Yeah.
Going down to watch Rab in the yard. I mean, doing his work occasionally. I'd go down there to see where he was and what he was doing. But they kept house, and he would get up early in that little apartment, and then come up for breakfast about 9 or something. She'd have cooked breakfast ready for him.
I kind of remember that too.
They loved each other. They were such sweethearts. Cherie would say, "He's my beau."
Oh, is that right?
They just adored each other.
But you got to see that part of their
I was
lives.
there a lot.
And I
Yeah.
never did see that. I only got to see them when there was a group of family.
Entertainment, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I
right.
never saw them.
Keeping house.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, let's shift gears a little bit. Mom has told me several times about visiting you in your home and what it was like to be with your parents and you. Why don't you start with that and then
I'll
we'll
cry
see.
again because it was so wonderful to be in your home and Al and Anita's home, of course. We always had so much fun together, and your parents were fun
They were fun. They
And-
were really fun.
and loving, and they'd always make sure we got to do some things that were fun. But the most important thing to me, besides your friendship, in addition to your friendship, is that every night we'd go to bed, then I'd hear from the other room, "I love you, Pam," your dad would say, and you'd say, "I love you, Dad."
Yeah.
Your mom would say, "I love you, Pam," and you'd say, "I love you,
Well,
Mom."
part of that I have forgotten. You know, that was.
Gosh,
Yeah.
it was so wonderful to hear that.
Yeah. They had a real love marriage. I was very
Yes,
fortunate that
yes,
way.
they
Yeah,
did. They were.
right.
Yes, they did.
We did. Yeah,
We were
and
aware.
they were never afraid to be affectionate with
That's
one
right.
another in front of me or my friends. And my friends, as I was growing up, you know, they were always in awe of
The tenderness.
the tenderness and the fun they had
Yeah.
together. In fact, I was just at a reunion, not to go into that, but just at a reunion,
Yes.
and that's what came back to me about my friends visiting.
I
my
still
home in the
remembered
States, my parents and their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
it's interesting that you tie that in.
Yes.
Yeah. Of course, your coming to visit us was always the huge highlight of my life. When you could come in the summer and we could do things together.
Yes. Rode into Wichita with some of your high school friends in that station
Oh.
wagon to go to the entertainment park, amusement park. That was a hoot.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we did a lot of things. Yeah.
Go to the country club and swim every day.
Mm-hmm.
Practice diving. I practiced diving.
Well, I never learned to do that. Janie could always do everything, and I could never do that. She could climb trees because she had brothers, and I couldn't climb a tree.
If I was
She could
gonna
ride a horse, I couldn't ride a horse.
If I was gonna get to be with my brothers, I had to do a lot.
Yeah.
Or be
I didn't have
excluded.
anybody to lead me on those things.
That's
Yeah.
That's right. Of course, yeah. And when you were at our house, of course, you were around when you were smaller. Both my brothers.
Yeah,
would
oh,
be at
yes,
home.
we have. I remember, of course, I loved being around them.
Yes.
They were like gods to me. You know, they were both so cute and older, and
Did they treat you nicely? Did they?
yeah, they treated me nice. They didn't really pay any attention to me.
No,
Yeah,
not
you know,
much to us.
That, I was just
Impressed by
that
it.
little, you know, girl that comes to see my
My
sister.
cousin, yeah.
Yeah. So, no, but they did deign to play games with us.
Sure.
From
Card
time to-
games.
yeah, card games, but it was not something they thoroughly looked forward to. Yeah, but mostly about going to Wilson, I have lots and lots of memories. But I also remember Kent's bug and butterfly displays back there.
Yes,
in
his
room. It was
4-H project.
Oh, they were so beautiful. And I was fascinated by
He
that.
got into entomology.
Yes, right.
He made that catcher net, as I remember anyway, and
I just remember the
catch
displays.
butterflies and then put them in jars so that they would die gently, and then display them.
The doctor
In action.
In action, right? Yeah, yeah.
And name them. You know, he found out the proper name and made those little labels and everything. Entered them in the fair and won prizes. Yes.
Well, Kit seemed to be around a little more than Roger was in
That's
those
my
days.
time to get ready to go.
Is it?
Yeah. Uh-oh. You have
I'm
to
going
go.
to the airport.
Oh my gosh, I just can't believe you have to go.
Well, that's mine.
All right. Well, that's just the beginning.